All right. So, yeah, you're going to hear some music probably, and then we'll get right into the show. All right?
All right, sounds good.
All right, cool. Some fucking assholes lighting off fireworks behind me, too.
Shut the fuck up and listen to me!
Welcome to Hashtag Dave Speaks.
Welcome back. This is another episode of Hashtag Dave Speaks. My name is Dave. I am one-third of the nerds on the Boston Sports Nerds Podcast, and I'm also the host of Hashtag Dave Speaks. Plus, I also got the 4-Star Sports Bar review coming out, which you'll be able to hear tomorrow, every other Monday, following Hashtag Dave Speaks. I'm accompanied by one of my favorite follows on Twitter, Mike_Dyer13. That's Dyer, D-Y-E-R. He is an avid tweeter and probably one of the most informative / comical Celtics fans that I know from Twitter as well. So, Mike, welcome to the show. How you doing, bud?
Dave, I don't know if I can really follow up that introduction. That summed me up pretty well and in glowing terms. I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on. That's it. No, I'm just kidding. So, I mean, first, I guess we can kind of get to know you a little bit. You're an all Boston sports fan, right?
Yeah, all Boston sports fan. Big on Twitter. Worked for Fox 25 for 4 years in the sports department before going off into TV production, more with businesses. Wrote for Celtics Life for 3 years, 3 or 4 years. So always had my foot in the game. Kind of taking the year off right now, blogging unless something comes up, but definitely going to get back into it. But as you said, I mean, I'm watching every game. I'm a Celtics season ticket holder, so
oh wow,
whenever the Celtics are on, I'm watching. I'm yelling about it.
Yeah, no kid. And one of my favorite non-sports related tweets was when you said, "Hey Donald Trump, Puerto Rico said that they would they would stand for the anthem and they'd even build Confederate statues for it if you just fucking helped them out immediately."
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that would get them some attention.
Yeah,
I don't think it really worked, but what you got to do in these desperate times.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but yeah, definitely my favorite follow on Twitter. I'm telling, I've even referenced you on the Boston Sports Nerds Podcast a lot. Oh man, there's this really funny tweet. And it's nonstop. So anyone that's listening, go check them out at Mike_Dyer, D-Y-E-R 13. So you're an all Boston sports fan. How do you rank the 4 sports? Like, who's your favorite? Who's your least favorite?
Oh man, it's tough. I mean, I can pretty clearly say, even though I am a hockey fan, the Bruins are 4th. If I'm gonna rank the other 3, it's a brutal ranking. Baseball was my first love. Still love them. Football obviously is king in America, and I gamble, so that's big.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in terms of what really sits with me the longest, the Celtics and Red Sox are 1-2, and you could flip them either way. It's hard for me to differentiate them. But those top 3, I mean, I'm sure you could speak from a similar experience. It's like picking between children.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I grew up a diehard Red Sox fan. I mean, like, I lived and died with every pitch, and I say it all the time, and I know it probably sounds weird, but like, 2004 was the worst thing to happen to me as a Red Sox fan because I will never ever see anything that cool again. So
right.
Now it's like I've reached the mountaintop. You know what I mean? I've done that as a fan. I'm not going to survive another 86-year drought. I'm probably never going to see a 3-0 comeback against the Yankees of all fucking teams. You know what I mean? So
right.
And they won in 07. That was cool, and I liked it. And they won in 13. I was like, that's awesome. They probably shouldn't have won that World Series. They weren't that good, but it just. David Ortiz was a machine that year, that was exciting in its own way, and like the David Ortiz Grand Slam was like, that was perfect. But the Red Sox have slid very far down my list. I have Bruins 4th. I'm not an avid hockey fan. I enjoy the sport of hockey. It's probably the best live sporting event to go to. But for me, basketball has always been my sport passion. I was a diehard Red Sox fan, but I loved basketball more than anything. But this Patriots era, this stretch is like so hard to not just like infatuate yourself with on a week-to-week basis. You know what I mean? So I would probably say right now, the Patriots are probably my first team just because there's only 16 games. It's every Sunday it means so much.
It's an event, yeah.
Yeah, it's an event, yeah. and then the Celtics and the Red Sox third. And plus, I really hate this Red Sox team. Like, they're so unlikable that it's. And other than a few guys, you got Mookie and
I
Duffield.
love the young guys, but I know what you're saying. This Red Sox team this year just seemed like it had so much drama.
Yeah.
And Farrell is just kind of an unlikable guy. They didn't seem to have a big identity. Ortiz had just retired.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, we've already climbed the mountaintop with both the Red Sox and the Patriots. We're
Right.
never going to have a better era than what the Patriots have done. We're never going to have a Super Bowl like the first one.
Right.
We're never going to have a comeback like the last one. And with the Red Sox, like you said, the way you write a movie script like that about the Red Sox pre-2004 and no one goes to see it.
Right.
It is that outrageous.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in that way, we've kind of climbed the mountain with 2 of the 4 teams in our lifetime. I mean, I'm 30. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 31. Yeah,
I'm
31.
Guessing, yeah, right the same age. With the Celtics, we've seen one title, and it was an incredible year, but we haven't necessarily climbed the mountain as fans yet. So
Right.
there's an intriguing part to that. It's like, okay, we still have our best Celtics moment ahead of us, maybe a dynasty at some point. So I think there's something to that to me, which is like, wow, like what if they're on the precipice in these next few years of starting something like that?
Yeah, and I guess that was the main reason that I wanted to have you on, being that you wrote specifically Celtics for a while, and as you know, but the listeners don't. I wanted to have you on before the season started and kind of get like a preview angle going. And they fired John Farrell the day before I was going to have you on. So
Right.
I was like, I guess that's kind of the bigger story right now. What we think of what the Celtics might do is not as important as what the Red Sox just did. So that one kind of took precedent for that week. But I'm glad to have you on because I think that a lot of the stuff you do talk about on basketball on Twitter, I agree with a lot. Where do you see this team? Is this team bubbling up? Is this something that you think like, okay, are we on the lower rung of the ladder here and we're getting our way going, or is this a exciting season and just take it for what it is, I guess?
Well, I love this team. I had this team pushing Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Final before Hayward went down. Obviously, to lose Hayward 5 minutes into the season was like the biggest kick in the balls I've ever seen. Even when Brady tore his ACL, that was awful when he tore his ACL in the first quarter of the first game. It wasn't a graphic injury. It wasn't a type of injury that made you want to puke.
Mm-hmm.
It was clearly a serious injury, and it was so devastating. But this was like another level because at least right in the moment you wondered, okay, is this guy ever going to come back again? Right? I think everyone had that thought.
Right. Yeah.
So the injury had such a visceral reaction. But then you catch your breath. They come out. They lose 2 close games to start the year. They've won the last 3. I love their defensive versatility. I love their athleticism. I love the fact that Kyrie is looking like more of a playmaker this year than he ever has in Cleveland, kind of with the LeBron shackles off.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brown and Tatum, those kids, that's what makes this team go from, okay, yeah, they're probably an upper 40 win team now as opposed to mid 50. I had them at 55 wins. I scaled it back to 48 after the injury.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're the 3 seed, maybe they're the 4 seed, maybe they're the 5 seed. I don't know. But Brown and Tatum and how good they could be gives this team a higher ceiling than a typical 48 win team.
Yeah.
Are they gonna beat LeBron this year if Hayward doesn't come back at full strength, which I think is going to take a miracle?
Mm-hmm.
No, they're not going to beat LeBron this year. But I actually think they have a chance to be a better playoff team this year than last year with Brown and Tatum if those 2 kids can take the steps this season I think that they can take, because they are so explosive and they give the Celtics something they haven't had in a long time, which is that wing scoring presence. They haven't had it since Pierce, and even the last few years of Pierce, he wasn't quite like that.
Right.
So that's what to me makes this team so exciting and so fun, and I'm living game to game right now, and I love it.
Yeah, I feel the exact same. I think that Jaylen Brown to me is already the second best scorer on the team for the past 2 years. Like I like Jaylen Brown at 2 guard more than I did Bradley last year.
Well, one thing he does do, and Bradley is like the best, one of the best on-ball defenders, obviously.
Right.
Bradley can't guard guys who are 6'5", 6'6", 6'8", 6'10". Jaylen can guard basically anyone.
Right.
Outside of, a true center. I mean, you can stick him on LeBron, or you can stick him on Bradley Beal. Like he can guard different guys, and that gives them more defensive versatility, even if they're not quite as well equipped to go head to head with Russell Westbrook. Okay, or maybe Curry's even a better example of that. So Bradley became a really, really good player, but he still had limitations. He wasn't a guy who created his own shot. He wasn't a guy who got to the hoop with the ball. He could do some back cuts to the hoop. He's a better shooter than Brown is right now. You got to give him the edge there.
Yep.
But I think Brown's ceiling is considerably higher than Avery, and I love Avery. If we could have kept Avery, if we could have somehow made his contract slide back out 4 more years and $32 million, it would have been unbelievable for this team. Unfortunately, when he came to this last year, you knew they were going to trade him.
Yeah, right.
So I love Avery, but Brown gives them a different size, a different athleticism, and a team that's a little more versatile. I love it.
I think I agree with you there. I also, it's interesting now having the Nets trade kind of cement itself now, right? I mean, we're basically done. We got rid of the other pick, so there's no more lingering Nets pieces. So now that you have Tatum, you have Brown, you have Marcus Smart, and you turned the last pick, along with some talent, into Kyrie Irving, has there ever been a worse deal in NBA history or in sports history? Like, you're watching Jason Tatum come in, make an immediate impact, 14-9, 14-8 a game, whatever, and Jaylen Brown turning into a 20 points per game guy, 18, 19, so far through the season, and he's gone over 20 twice this year already. And then you have Kyrie Irving and Marcus Smart, who last year I was saying I want to keep Smart, trade Bradley, because Bradley was going to cost you too much. So now maybe Smart's going to cost you too much with the fact that they didn't get that extension done. I don't know what the number range was. That Danny says they're close. Smart says you want me to take a discount. I don't know where they're at, but I think that I wanted Smart because I thought that he was further along in the process at the age than Bradley was at that age. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a more mature player, mature game-wise, not necessarily mentally, but I thought that he was able to do more in a basketball game than Avery Bradley was in his third year. So I liked Smart more than Bradley at that. I guess I would say, with the ceiling, the potential of Smart, his trajectory career-wise, I thought would sky past Avery Bradley's. But
I think that Smart is, again, a more versatile defender than Bradley, and he's a much better ball handler.
Yes.
Bradley was never a passer. He was never a guy who got a guy an open shot. It just wasn't his game. Now, Marcus Smart, I'm like one of these Marcus Smart believers who every single game, not even every single year, is like, well, Marcus is going to start. He's going to start hitting shots this game, right?
Right. I feel the same way.
And it's like, there's a part of it. It feels like maybe Celtics fans, we do overrate him just a little bit because we always think he's about to become a better shooter. And if he doesn't take that last step, he isn't going to be, a great player. He'll still be a good player because he's so good defensively. He's such a game changer with his emotion, the way he plays,
right?
The way it seems like he's the heart and soul of the team, and the fact, again, he's a really good ball handler. He's the type of guy you don't miss much. When Isiah left last year and Marcus came in and ran the offense, it's like you still have the same decision-making, right? You still have the head on the snake. And the same thing now with Kyrie. So Marcus brings so much to the table, but if he's going to become, the $20 million a year guy, he's got to make 35% of his threes. And he's out this year. He's off to another awful start shooting ball. So there is that last step he needs to take. I don't know if he'll ever take it. If he does, the Celtics will be thrilled if they lock him up for, say, 4 years, $60 million, which is kind of the sweet spot I'm looking at with him.
Yep.
4 years, $15 million a year. I think they're going to re-sign him basically no matter what, because they can't replace him. They're already over the cap, so you're not going to go and use cap space on someone else. There's no one with Marcus Smart's value who you're going to replace for that money, because you can't spend the money anywhere else. You can spend the money on your own players. When you're over the cap, you can't spend it on other people's players.
Right.
So I would be shocked if Smart leaves. I think it'd be a big mistake if he leaves. So I expect he'll be back. And getting back to your other point with the Nets trade in general, the only trade comparable to the Nets trade is the Herschel Walker trade.
Of course,
when they
right.
got the draft picks that led to Emmitt Smith, Darren Woodson, Russell, Maryland. It was like, okay, they got 2 Hall of Famers and another really good player. So, like, that's the gold standard. And I think that it's, that's what you're looking for here. I mean, James Young obviously wasn't the pick you wanted, but Tatum, Brown, and let's not forget, you actually do have one more pick because you have the Lakers pick this year or the Kings pick next year, whatever one it ends up being.
Right.
So that's that you could add another top 5 pick in the next 2 years for what was at the time 1 year of Paul Pierce and 2 years of Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's staggering. That trade we talk about all the time. People get sick of hearing about it. It's the most amazing trade in Boston sports in our lifetime.
Right.
It really is.
It is. And at least I would say for another amazing trade to me is the Dodgers Red Sox trade. Like that was just chaos to me that they just got so much money off the books. Now, I don't think that made the Red Sox better. You know what I mean? It helped.
But it gave them the money they needed
Right.
to go out and sign Victorino and Napoli and Koji.
Right.
And, the 6 or 7 guys they signed that offseason, they don't bring in if they have Carl Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez eating up $50 million a year.
Right.
So that was like the enema they needed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, yeah, that's true. They did just need to get cleaned out there, but they, I'm so interested by this because I think that Jaylen Brown is the real deal. I liked the pick at the time. I'm not one of the, and I'm very. If you listen to any of my other podcasts or anything, anyone that listens knows that I'm not one of those guys that like, oh, I knew it. You know what I mean? Like, I knew it. I do go out on a limb a lot trying to be that guy, but I do believe it when I say it. You know what I mean? And like on the Boston Sports Nerds podcast, I predicted that we did a bold prediction segment before the Super Bowl, and I said this will be the first Super Bowl to go into overtime. And but that's a caveat because it was like the bold prediction. You know what I mean? So it's not like I didn't really, really believe it, but I did kind of feel like it was a possibility. But I thought the Jaylen Brown pick was a great pick, and I was terrified of me feeling so confident about it because he seemed like a really raw athletic player that was like, oh yeah, like is this guy going to be Jeff Green or is he going to be an actual freak athlete and be a really good player?
Paul George.
Yeah, right. And I worried in spots last year. I'm like, oh, maybe this guy is Jeff Green. He kind of disappears a lot and whatever. And then there was that stretch where he was playing. I think when Thomas was out, Smart was playing point, and then was Brown starting for a while last year.
Brown started for a while last year when they were out. Bradley really missed a good chunk of time last year.
Right. And that's true. Yeah, he missed like 40 games or something last year.
I think it was like at least 25. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when Jaylen Brown came in, and then when he was starting, I was like, oh man, he's legit, like 13 points, 12 points. You know what I mean? Like he did it night in, night out. And what's really weird was I thought, they signed Gordon Hayward. I said, oh my God, that's a great piece. This is really, really good. And then when he went down, I didn't feel like it hurt him that much. Like for some reason, I think it was just the play of everyone else that kind of made me feel like, they're going to be all right. And I don't know how long they're going to be able to do that. But I kind of look at this team now like, oh yeah, I forgot Gordon Hayward's there. And not to just dismiss him, but I think they're a really good team anyway.
For 5 minutes, so I can't blame anyone for forgetting about it.
Right.
It's like part of it's like, well, we're really well equipped to handle it, I guess, with Smart, with Brown and Tatum. But then you're like, well, shit, what if we had Hayward too?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like kind of works both ways, but I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. So and then Average Al, did his thing last night too. I mean, if he's getting you nights like that every so often, I'm good.
So, I'm a big Horford guy, and I think one thing Horford gets is that the NBA kind of cursed itself with the max salary because people hear max salary and they're like, well, LeBron gets max and Al Horford gets max, and LeBron's so much better than Al Horford, but that is not like you have enough room for 3 max salaries on your team. Okay, so theoretically, you could say there's 90 max players in basketball.
Right.
Now, it'd be stupid for 90 players to get max, but Al Horford's like, I don't know, the 25th or the 30th or the 35th best player in the league.
Right.
Really, if you look at a guy who plays his type of defense that gives you 15 points and 7 boards and is an unbelievable passer for a big man.
Right.
Hits threes. Like, his skill set is elite, even though I know, he's not LeBron, he's not Giannis, he's not Westbrook, he's not Curry. Of course, name those top 20 guys, and no one's gonna say Al's in that top 20. But then you get outside that top 20, and you get to that 25-35 range, and you're like, man, this guy impacts the game all the time.
Right.
His defense is out of control. So, when he plays like he played last night, I mean, he's a superstar. But
right, yeah.
What they need out of him, again, is that consistent, be that second or third best offensive player on the team while probably being the most valuable defensive player on the team. That's what Al is.
Yep. And I liked, we were just talking on the podcast last night about how the structure of the Celtics right now is really interesting because Kyrie Irving, your best scorer, leads the team in scoring. Jaylen Brown having a really good offensive season, second on the team in scoring. Jason Tatum, oh my God, what was it? Al Horford, third in the team in scoring, and then Jason Tatum,
Right.
and then Marcus Smart, and then your sixth man, Terry Rozier. And how fucking good has Terry Rozier been?
He's been great until last night, which, I mean, everyone has an off night.
Right, yeah.
He's been explosive. He has been actually hitting some layups, which is like my biggest pet peeve with Terry Rozier, which I do tweet about a lot, is the guy never hits his layups, literally.
Yeah.
Like last year, he shot like 40% on layups, and the league average is like 75%, at within 3 feet of the hoop. He's like, the guy cannot finish at the hoop. And this year, he's at least finishing some of the time. He's aggressive. He's hitting his threes. He's obviously a great rebounder for a guard.
Yeah.
He can pass. So Rozier looks like a guy. I mean, if he can be a really good backup guard, that's going to go so far for this team since they lost Bradley.
Right. And one of my favorite things to do is per 36 stats. I don't know if you've ever seen on Twitter. I do like Tice Talk, and it's whatever Tice's per 36 is for the night. And and I just pulled up the Celtics team, for the stats or whatever. And Yabusele has a per 36 of 50 points, 14 fouls, 14 turnovers, 7 rebounds, which is pretty, and no assists. In 36 minutes.
So it's
not
like
one
Wilt,
assist.
that 1 year Wilt scored 50.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Never passed the ball.
So Gershon Yabusele's on pace to basically be Wilt Chamberlain. That's on the record.
That's all I needed to hear.
Right.
I like Yabu, but he's basically this year going to be the dude on the bench who goes over the top with celebrations.
Yep, I like it. There's a
so
role.
That's maybe his role
there.
for this year, but I do like him. Big, thick dude who just kind of throws his weight around, got a big ass. So
yeah.
I'm Team Yabu.
Team Yabu. I kind of feel like Semi's already kind of taken his spot.
Semi is like legit, like a ready to play defender. Like they had him on Giannis last night for like 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
And they can't stop Giannis, and then they put him on there. He did a really good job. He's like jacked out of his mind. The dude is just yoked, and he isn't much of an offensive player right now, but maybe they feel like he can kind of give them like the defensive versatility that they need right now. And obviously the Hayward injury opened the door for that. But
yeah,
they get some. What I like about this team, one thing is they lost a lot of guys like Olynyk and Zeller and James Young and these dudes who weren't really athletes. I mean, James Young could jump, but he wasn't really like a defensive athlete. It's like they lost these guys as depth, and they got, Ojale and Tice and Yabu and all these young dudes who can really, really play defense and are athletic. And I think it gives them a little bit of a different look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also really like the Morris pickup as like a sneaky, quiet move. Like,
yeah. Hopefully he comes back, right?
Yeah. So, what is he? He's battling was it an ankle or something?
I think it's a knee soreness.
Yeah. But if he can get going, I read a stat once that LeBron James' worst field goal percentage is shot against Marcus Morris since he's been in the league.
Right. Yeah, I think I saw the same stat.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing. You don't think of Morris as like a stopper of LeBron. I mean, you don't think anyone is a stopper of LeBron.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Especially because he's been just eating our soul for the last 10 years.
yeah.
But, I mean, I saw those stats too, and they were real eye-opening.
Yeah.
You think to lose Hayward and Morris, like just not have them, and still be 3-2, like that's – I like Morris's fit too. I'm with you.
And the two losses that they had, I cannot believe they took the lead in that Cleveland game.
Me either. That was amazing.
And then you got a tough back-to-back there to start the season. First, you have that whole emotional roller coaster of Cleveland. Then you got to travel back home, and then you get, probably the second best player in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So it's like that was a tough season start for them. And then to win 3 games and then go beat Milwaukee last night. Made me feel so vindicated about last week. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, all right. You know, we're not. Milwaukee's not better than the Boston Celtics. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It made you feel like, okay, Milwaukee, Toronto, Washington, these good teams who are below Cleveland. It made you feel like even without Hayward, we're going to go head to head with them.
We could beat them.
Now,
right? Yeah.
Could Washington? You know, does that mean Washington can't beat us in a series or whatever? No, of course not. Those teams, I think, are all on the same level. But it made you feel like, okay, we can still go head to head with the non-Cleveland teams in the East, and that's a good feeling for the playoffs, for the second round of the playoffs.
And the one thing I've taken away from the two losses, both of them being really competitive losses, was I thought, like, you know, Isiah Thomas did such a good job last year of like embracing he's the heart, he's the guy for Boston, you know, and the whole team was sort of, and it's Celtic pride, you know, it's the grit and balls thing, it's the whole, you know what I mean, the whole mystique of the Boston Celtics is they just try harder than everyone else, and that's how it's always felt with every good Celtics team. Feels like they all try harder. And Jaylen Brown made the comments right before the season started about how he was confused about trading Isiah, and you know he was wondering like, what does Celtic pride mean and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh man, that doesn't feel good. You know, like that doesn't seem like, this seems like a kid kind of lost in, you know, in the team's identity. And then they lose Gordon Hayward. They go down like, what was it, 18 points or whatever in the second quarter?
Yeah, 18.
And then they come back and take the lead, and they had the lead with like a minute left in the game. And
yeah, they were up 4.
They were up 4,
I really thought they were going to steal it. I couldn't believe it.
I did too. And then I started thinking, I'm like, man, this is just like last year's try-harder Celtics. And I'm like, Brad Stevens is the fucking man. Like,
yes, exactly what I was about to say.
They lose 11 guys. They only have 4 guys back from last year. Jaylen Brown being one of those guys saying, I don't know what Celtic pride is a week ago. So, you know what I mean? Is now one of the veterans on that team. And they still have it. And it's, you can tell that comes from the top down. I don't think it was a Jay Crowder, Isiah Thomas thing. I don't think it was an Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk thing, whatever. I think it's Brad Stevens, and he just gets people to try and play harder than everyone on a night-to-night basis for 82 games.
And think about this. Was Isiah Thomas known as the heart and soul before he came to Boston?
Right.
No.
Right.
Was Jay Crowder, you know, that type of player before he came to Boston?
Right.
No. Was Evan Turner a difference maker before he came to Boston? No. And it's like, go player by player by player and say, when did they play their best? When did they max out? It's in Boston. And that's not to take away from the players, because like I'm as much Team Isiah as anyone could possibly be.
Yeah.
But no one maximizes his players, both in terms of their numbers and their effort, that Brad Stevens does. And it's so true that they replaced all these guys, and you start wondering, they lost Isiah, who was their heart and soul. They lost Jay, who was like one of their backbones, you know, tough guys. They lost Avery, another one of those type of guys. And like you said, bing, bang, boom, you plug in 3 different guys, and are they is the communication and the flow right now as good as it was last year when those guys were 3 years deep playing with each other? No, not yet. But it's already getting better, which is amazing. And that's why they should sign Brad Stevens. They keep giving him extensions, but they should sign him to like a 30-year deal.
Yeah, just give him a 100-year contract. Right.
$300 million contract right now.
Yeah, I absolutely would. I would sign him to a 100-year contract. And that would just
100 years.
That's it. Yeah, just lock it up.
140 when it gets done.
Right.
And by the time we get to there, people are going to be living a lot longer.
Right.
It could be a steal.
It's not, you never know. Right. Exactly. And imagine that retirement plan. Right. That 401k after 100 years.
To 130 just to see it.
That'd be pretty good. But it's so. I was watching the Cleveland game, and I said, to even be able to get the players to be able to focus, because obviously the rest of that first quarter and second quarter they melted. They were not playing basketball. They just watched their friend basically die. Die. Yeah, right. And that wasn't a basketball game at that point, I think, for them. But then at halftime, it clicks. Boom! Here come the Celtics. They outscored them 38-18 or 32-18, something like that in the third quarter, and all of a sudden, like, oh wait a minute, this is the Cleveland Cavs. Like, this is the Cavaliers, and the Celtics look like they're the team to beat in the East in that quarter, and that's without Gordon Hayward after watching him get basically murdered right on the court. And it just is, Brad Stevens to me is just impresses me more and more each year, because I keep thinking, okay, well, we keep adding the pieces. Danny's done a really good job too. Are you a Danny supporter, or are you
huge Danny supporter?
Thank God.
Just this summer. I mean, you go out and you trade the consensus number one. We were all falling in love with Fultz. Oh, I'm going to give up Fultz. I'm going to get Tatum and a pick.
Yeah.
All right, and look how good that looks right now. And I'm not saying Markelle Fultz is going to be trash his whole career,
right.
but that looks like one hell of a move.
Mm-hmm.
He trades, obviously an injured Isiah and Crowder, and then the Nets pick for a Kyrie. And the Nets look feisty again.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna crash down to earth a little bit, no. But what if they finish with the 8th or the 10th worst record? Like,
I've been saying
all of a sudden that pick becomes a good pick, but not a great one.
Right.
And that's a huge difference.
Right. I've been saying that since when they signed Allen Crabbe, DeMarre Carroll, and made the D'Angelo Russell Mozgov trade, and I was like, that's not bad. Like, it's not great. They're not going to take a run at the East or anything. It's like, but can you guarantee me that there's 7 teams that are better than the Nets in the East? Or I'm sorry, 7 non-playoff teams. I know exactly what you're saying. Like, and it's like, and Chicago's worse. The Knicks are worse. Orlando's probably going to be worse, but they are playing well right now. The Pacers are worse. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I think right there you have 4 or 5 teams, a handful of teams that I think the Nets are actually like legitimately better than. And
not only that, but those teams, when you get late in the year, will have that itch to tank,
right?
Because they keep their own pick, and the Nets don't have that,
right?
That's the same reason I'm a little bit wary of us landing the Lakers pick this year, is that the Lakers won't have that drive to tank late in the season,
right?
And other teams out west and in the East will. So I think the Lakers will finish outside that top 5, and the Celtics will need some good luck there.
Yeah.
But it also means that when Danny focused in and traded that Nets pick, I do think the Nets will land outside the top 5, which to me makes the Kyrie trade look that much better.
Yeah, and I think that Nets pick is going to be anywhere between 8 and 16. Like, yeah. I'm not like marching around saying the Nets are going to make the playoffs, but I wouldn't be just totally dumbfounded if they did, because I think the East sucks. You know what I mean? So there's 4 teams in the East, 5 teams, like you said, those teams: Milwaukee, Washington, the Celtics, Cavs. But then after that, it's slim pickings. You know what I mean? So if the Nets can kind of get it together, I think the Jeremy Lin, Russell, Crabbe, DeMarre Carroll, Mozgov team is not the worst starting 5 by any means in the Eastern Conference. So, you look at a team like Chicago right now, or the Knicks right now. I mean, sure, they have Kristaps Porzingis, but what else? I mean, that team is destroyed right now. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what that Nets pick becomes. I mean, I'm not as interested because it's not ours anymore, but it's an interesting piece.
I'm a big Nets fan this year. Big
Nets fan. Yeah, I'm with you. I feel the same way. And what do you think of the Lakers right now? Like, we've talked a lot about Tatum, Fultz, and now with the Lakers and Ball. What do you think of the draft class so far?
I mean, Fultz, obviously, there's something going on with him, his shoulder, his head. He's so out of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
If you go past him, I mean, the draft class looks awesome. Lonzo is getting so many possessions. His numbers are a little inflated, but I'm a big Lonzo believer. I think he's going to be a really, really good point guard for a long time.
I do too.
He's going to be the type of guy you can be one of the pieces you can build a team around. So you got him out in LA putting up basically triple-double numbers. Tatum has been incredible so far. I think you look at like a guy like Dennis Smith Jr. in Dallas, who I think is going to put up, again, massive numbers. And then he's not technically this year's draft class, but Ben Simmons is a freak of nature. That's one thing Philly does have.
Right.
Is Simmons and Embiid, if healthy, are studs.
You can solve an age-old debate here on our network. Do you consider Ben Simmons a point guard?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
No, I do. I do too.
Yeah. It's like I consider LeBron a point guard. And, not that I think Simmons is quite LeBron, but if you have the ball in your hands all the time, you're a point guard.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be another reason it's going to be a little bit tough for Fultz, and not that they can't figure it out, but we'll see what happens, is he's going to have to play off ball a lot.
Yeah.
So Simmons, one thing Simmons got to learn how to shoot. because
yeah.
you can't reach your full potential in the NBA. And I say the same thing about Giannis, and he's obviously become much, much better. But if people don't fear your outside shot, it just clogs up your offense.
Mm-hmm.
And if it clogs up your offense, it limits how good you can be. So they need to take that last step. And Simmons is really – Giannis can at least shoot the ball a little bit. Simmons – I mean, Kevin O'Connor with the Ringer thinks he shoots with the wrong hand. Like, that's how far away he is from the shot.
Yeah.
He's only 20, but maybe 21. But he's going to have to figure that out. But his skill sets outside of shooting he is a stud 6'10" point guard.
Crazy. It's crazy. And there's a guy who does our fantasy football show. His name's Joe. He's also on the Boston Sports Nerds podcast. And he's been saying ever since we talked about like the whole draft class and they drafted Fultz, he's like, oh, the Sixers drafted Fultz because they need a point guard. I'm like, no, Ben Simmons is their point guard. And he'd say, he's not Davey's 6'10". He's not going to defend Isiah Thomas. Okay. He's like, so he's not their point guard. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And then the criteria became, well, how do you define a point guard? Is it the one that brings the ball up and operates the offense, or is it the guy that defends the point guard on the other side?
Well, the thing is,
that's
too,
kind
now
of tough.
with like positionless basketball,
right?
It's like you have one guy, like you said, handling. I mean, Isiah last year guarded two guards a lot of the time if they were the lesser of the guards offensively.
Right. Remember, Kobe used to guard Rondo.
Right, and that's the thing. Like Isaiah's not going to guard Westbrook; he's going to guard Roberson. You know, does that mean Isaiah's not a point guard? Of course not.
Right.
It's just defensively and offensively are almost two different positions now. But Simmons, he's a point guard. You want to call him a point forward. You want to call him the LeBron role, whatever you want to call him, because positions are kind of fading out. I mean, especially with coaches like Brad Stevens.
Right.
Positions are kind of going the way of the dinosaur, but Simmons has point guard skills, so I side with you on that one.
I think he's like Magic Johnson. Like
exactly.
Magic Johnson is
was
clearly a 6'8" point guard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I guess I'm good. I'm content here. I think this is a good little wrap session. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, we can wrap up.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Is there anything you want to promote or anything on your way out? Good.
No, I mean, you promoted the hell out of my Twitter handle, so I really can't ask for much more than that. Miles, it's been a fun talk, man.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, if as the Celtics progress here through the season, maybe after the All-Star break or going into the playoffs, I'll reach back out to you.
Sounds good, Dave. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and keep up the good work. You got some skill behind the mic for sure.
No, thank you very much, Mike. You're a gentleman and a scholar, my friend. How about that? All right, Mike, I'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, see you, Dave.
All right, bye.
Shut